Morning, everybody. Hey, Tom Davis back, Director of Recruiting for Student Athlete World. Have a great guest today from a rival school of mine when I was playing in college. You guys all know that I was a University of Charleston guy. I have Coach Sean Loyd of West Virginia State University baseball on here. Always had a great rivalry while I was playing and coaching, and know they have an outstanding program and everything, and just wanted to bring Coach Loyd on to sit there and talk and give some of his knowledge, insight, and also tell us about West Virginia State baseball. Hey, Coach, how are? I know we were talking before, and we're both Steeler guys, and a little disgusted, but we'll move on. We're baseball guys, and you know what? The world's getting brighter for us now because practice has started. You guys have started, and I'm heading to Fort Myers Friday for 4 days to watch baseball. So everything good. The sun came up today, and everything will be good. Coach Loyd, give everybody some background and bio on yourself, Coach.
Well, this is my 7th year as the head coach at West Virginia State. Prior to that, I started coaching at West Virginia State when I finished playing. So I was a college hitting coach and coaching third base at 21 years old, and had an opportunity to coach with Cal Bailey. Originally, I was just going to help him for a year, and then I was going to go back home to Sutton, West Virginia, and teach. And I actually wanted to be a football coach, and spent the fall helping Cal that first year, and just fell in love with being a college baseball coach, and had the opportunity to coach with him for a long time. Had a couple job changes along the way. I spent 8 years as the athletic director at West Virginia State. Resigned from that after my first year as head coach because I just couldn't do both. And I love being athletic director at West Virginia State, and I loved everything that entailed. But my passion was to be a baseball coach, and I just felt like that was the better fit for me. And we had a person here that was ready to be the athletic director that was going to be fantastic, and he is, Nate Burton. And it's given me an opportunity to do the thing that I really, really wanted to do, the last 30 years, which was be a head college baseball coach. And it's, West Virginia State's been great to me. And, I've got an opportunity to, play in a good conference. And, we're still in a situation where we can get good players. And, I have great assistant coaches, and, we feel like we're going to, if we get to play this year, hopefully, we feel like that, we're going to be in a really good situation with our team this year. So.
Well, I will tell you what, I mean, yeah, you guys play in the Mountain East Conference. I'm up in Pittsburgh. I know all the Mountain East teams. I know the PSAC and everything. Division II baseball in the region between, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia and all that. You look at the top 25, and I believe that year in and year out have 6 to 10 teams from both of those, from the PSAC and the Mountain East, that are top 25 caliber teams, can go to the regionals, the super regionals, and everything like that, and play on the national level. Talk a little bit before I get you, to give us some West Virginia State stuff. Talk a little bit, Coach, about a message that you play in that ultra competitive environment and everything like that. How that helps you a little bit with your recruiting.
Tom, I didn't hear you in the beginning. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. The Mountain East and the PSAC and the good schools that are there, on a national level, and and everything, and just talk about, you guys are Mountain East and with the Peace Act, and how when you go to recruit a kid, selling that the brand of baseball and the good teams and the competitiveness all around there, how do you use that to assist you in recruiting young men?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with obviously what our needs are and what the student's looking for out of it. So, I always caution recruits to make sure that not just the baseball program, but the school itself has the things you're looking for, because that helps you narrow down whether it's a fit or not. But we play a lot of those PSAC schools. We play Slippery Rock. Jeff Messer and I are good friends. We try to play every year. Jeff's a great guy. So, I try to play Seton Hill when we can. Mark and I are friends. He does a great job. But we want to expose our guys to those good teams. And there are good teams in this region on both sides. I've spent the last 4 years, I was on the national committee for the NCAA. So we selected, the teams that participate. And, I'm in the World Series, and, Mercyhurst made a great showing. And, I'm friends with all those guys. We try to play those guys as often as we can. So Joe's a great coach. And, we get to the World Series 2 years ago with Joe Mercyhurst representing the region. And, the only difference is it seems like from a national standpoint, our region, the players aren't as, I guess, polished as, a Southern California kid may be, or a Florida or Georgia kid may be. But you know what? They compete just the same, and the results are just as good. I watched Joe and those guys finish third in the national tournament. They had more guys on Mercyhurst pitching staff throwing 90 plus than any other pitching staff in that tournament. So our region stacks up well. A lot of the players that are in this region, the high school kids, they're being recruited by all of us, so they know us all. And it's just, it's kind of down to, do you have something different that makes you a little bit more attractive than some of the other schools they may be looking at? And that's an individual thing. The something different may be your business department's better. Or it may be, I market us as we're south. We're going to be warmer. and we will be, we're going to be about 5 or 6 degrees warmer. So, it's beauty in the eye of the beholder is definitely true in the recruiting game. And, I always try to make sure that when we're recruiting kids that we're very honest about what we are and what our mission is and what we're trying to do. And, if it's a match and, they're still very interested in us and we're very interested in them, then we continue on. But if not, it's not been uncommon for me or guys on my staff. If we like the kid, but he just says, I just don't think you guys are a fit. We've helped kids get someplace else.
Sure.
I've made calls to plenty of coaches in our region and said, hey, I don't think it's going to work out here with this kid, but he is interested in you guys. You guys may want to talk to him. So those are the kind of relationships that the coaches have within this region, or relationships that I have with folks. And, it's a competitive region, very competitive.
Very, very interesting thing, because, I tell the players that have played for me and my clients and everything like that, I said, coaches talk. And it's just so funny that you bring that up, Coach. And, it's a small world, and as long as you're doing your thing. I tell my kids, as you're doing your thing and you're honest and everything like that, I said, baseball will always try to sit there and help you out. Want to get into now, West Virginia State Institute, West Virginia. Tell us a little bit about where West Virginia State is, and tell us about West Virginia State and its advantages.
Well, we're located about 9 miles west of Charleston, West Virginia, which is the capital of West Virginia. Uh, we're right off the highway. We're easy to find. We're easy to get to. Uh, Obviously, being close to Charleston, there's some things in Charleston, activities that kids would enjoy, and we're close to Huntington, which they have similar activities there. So we're situated in a good spot. Um, there's 9 high schools in our county. There's a lot of really good baseball players in our county. We do a lot of our recruiting locally, but we don't limit ourselves to that. But we're in a good spot. Probably in the wintertime, we have better weather than anybody in the state down in this valley. We're going to practice outside today. So we're going to be in the mid 40s today, so we're in good shape. So, but the location's ideal for a school in this region. Now, would I rather have Georgia weather? Absolutely, but I'll take the Institute weather just the same. And West Virginia State University, we're Division II school. We're our biggest majors are business and teacher education. But we're also fantastic with the sciences. I have 4 pre-med majors on my team. So academically, we're very competitive. I graduated from here and felt like that, and I graduated with a teaching degree, and I was absolutely ready to teach, hit the ground running when I graduated. So academically, we're really proud of our school. We're proud of the preparation and stuff that our guys get, because there's not a degree here that's easy. There's not classes here that kids can take to where you say, well, I just needed an A, that kind of thing. It's very competitive. And with the way things are right now with a lot of the online learning, it makes it a little bit tougher for a lot of kids. Now, some kids, they prefer it. And, we had a couple guys last semester that did better than they've ever done, GPA wise. And they said, I just feel more comfortable doing my classwork like this. So, it's a different game. Everybody's going through it. But from a baseball standpoint, we have a rich baseball history. Cal Bailey was the head coach here for 37 years. He won almost 1,100 games. 17 conference championships. We were fortunate enough when I was with him to go to 2 World Series and finish 3rd once and 5th once. So we've got a lot of postseason history in our program. We've been able to have, I think, over 35 guys sign professional contracts or be drafted. 45. And we feel like that from a baseball history standpoint and from an academic standpoint, that there's definitely a market for high school and junior college guys that we would be an attractive fit for.
Excellent. Going back, you mentioned Cal Bailey, and like I said, I mean, I played against him when I was at UC, and actually when I was coaching at UC with Tom Nazika, and great stories. Love Coach Bailey. It's sad that he's left us, and just want to sit there and take a moment to honor him and everything. Let's get into a little bit of recruiting now. I tell my players and my kids, every kid is different. And, you brought sort of touched on it a little bit, and it's about finding that the right fit schools for you. And, number one, they have to have, it has to be an academic fit and everything. I tell my kids all the time, I said, they're like, well, what did coach ask you? I said, number one, I said, then, they're going to ask me what kind of student you are. Then they're going to ask me, what kind of kid. They talk about the character aspects and everything that you bring. When you, when you go to recruit, coach, talk about some of the skill set, but also the mental aspects and everything, and the academic aspects that you look for. So, you want to sit there and have that that well-balanced student athlete approach?
Well, academics is part of the skill set for us. That's part of the package. And that's, when we get information on a kid, the first thing we want to know is what kind of student he is, GPA, test scores, that sort of thing. Then we start, and I know this kind of sounds bad, but we start vetting the kid. Uh, and typically, if it's someone that I'm totally not familiar with, I'll actually call the school and ask if I can talk to a teacher. Or if we go somewhere and watch him play, in PA, you can go to a game in PA. And if you stand around long enough, there's going to be a local yokel there that doesn't have a kid on the field, and he's going to give you the skinny on everybody playing in that game.
Absolutely.
And I listen to those guys, because they'll give you some nuggets that'll give you some insight. But the academic piece is an important piece for us, because I don't want to be in a situation where, if you're on my team and you're one of my best players, I don't want to have to be sweating it every semester at finals time, seeing if you're going to be eligible. And in my opinion, there's too many guys that can play, that take academics very seriously, and getting a degree is something that's absolutely on their mind. They're committed to it. There's too many of those guys out there, and I don't like to spend my time, trying to kickstart a kid about his future, because let's face it, the degree is not about those 4 years; it's about the next 50.
Yep.
And I always joke with it. It's kind of half joke, half not. But we'll have a kid on campus and his parents are sitting there. I literally tell the kid, part of my job is to get you off their payroll, because they want you off the payroll. Make no mistake about it. They love you, but they want you off the payroll. And so we do a lot with our guys academically. That's the quickest way in our doghouse if you're not taking care of what you need to take care of academically. And from a player standpoint, I mean, as a Division II school, it's not very often you're going to get a 5-tool player. You're probably not going to get a 4-tool player. If you're lucky, you get a 3-tool player. So you're typically looking at 1 or 2 tools. So our foundation is, what's one thing that a kid may do that we really like, and if it's something that we put a high value on, and the kid kind of checks the other boxes, so to speak, then we're probably going to go after that kid. I mean, obviously, we would prefer the tool be arm strength or bat speed. Those are 2 tools that we can kind of fill in the blanks with the other stuff. But as a Division II school, we place a high premium on player development. Every guy on my coaching staff has an education background. So teaching is a huge, huge part of what we do, because we want to be able to develop players. If we have a year where we're losing 6 guys, if I know that I have 2 or 3 guys already here that are ready, that takes the heat off a little bit.
Yep.
So we put a premium on with the recruits, aptitude. Can they learn? Are they willing to learn? Do they feel a need to make changes? And if they have all those things, then I think that they could probably be a good fit for us. But they have to be willing to work. I'm from a small town in West Virginia, and our solution to every problem was, you just got to work harder at it. And that's the way we go about it. If we're not doing something well, then we have to work harder. And I'm a big proponent of time on task equals learning. The more time you spend on something, the better at it you should be. And we hammer that home with our guys. And it takes a different type of kid nowadays. You have to be careful about the type of kid that you bring in. You have to be convinced that kid is going to come in and kind of throw his ego out the door, and, as I tell them, burn your high school scrapbook, and come in and work. And if they're not playing early, they're going to work their butt off while they wait. And when they get their chance, they're going to be ready. And that's, I know that's a lot, but, to me, each individual kid's career, individual academic and athletic career, is very important. And I take each individual guy's academic and athletic career very seriously. So, we've got to be invested. And we had our first practice yesterday, and I told our team, we're all in on you guys. I mean, we are invested 100%. We just you got to bring it back to us. Because we have two rules when it comes to practice. You got to show up with energy, and you got to show up willing to learn. And as coaches, we promise you we're going to show up with energy, and we're going to show up willing to teach. And if we get that meshed up, then we should be able to get guys to improve and, hopefully, take them to a level that they never even thought was possible. But it starts with the recruiting, and you've got to be it's hard to say you're sure about a kid because, we're not soothsayers. I mean, we can't predict the future. You'd like to think you have a good idea. But, I think with the makeup of the kid and the personality and, it's been my experience, kids that are good students, that are serious good students, those kids practice better.
Yep.
Because they value practice. Because to them, practice is like studying for a test. That's how they equate it. And, we've got really good students. We have a 3.4 team GPA. Since I've been the head coach, we've graduated every player but two. You go on the road and, you get other teams ragging you, and they'll rag our guys about stuff. If they only knew, we have a handful of guys, all they have to say to them is, how's that biology grade going? That would make them melt because that's what's on their mind. You can call them fat or whatever. That's not going to bother them, but they're worried about the grades. But the makeup's important. And the beauty of college baseball is that every coach has their own take on how it should be ran. Every coach has their own take on how their program should function, and every coach has a different take on what they're going to value in their program. So none of us are doing it the same way. We have some similar characteristics, but no one's doing it the exact same way. And, that gives you a chance in the recruiting process to have that uniqueness about you. And, it's better for the players because it gives them options. You're not talking to the same, 45-year-old short, fat, bald guy all the time. Guys are going to have different messages. And, you just have to, as coaches, we have to have a solid plan. We have to make sure that the parents understand that we're going to be responsible for and look out for and take care of their son. And they have to believe us. And,
Sure.
I love recruiting. I love it. I love meeting players. I like meeting their families. I like evaluating. That's my favorite part of it, other than being with my guys. But if you can't recruit and if you can't identify and procure players, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle because it's not a perfect process. We're going to be wrong more than we're right on kids. And I think that nowadays parents have a hard time grasping that maybe junior's not going to be good enough. You hear all the time, well, he was an all-star at Little League. So was I, and I never started a college game in my career. So, it's, I was the legend in Little League. So, there's a lot of variables and a lot of things that pop up that we have to deal with. But, being able to be around kids and play a sport, for a living, it doesn't get any better now.
You bring up such good points and insights, Coach, and just going to hit a little bit on it now. I mean, you brought up the word vetting, and you know what? I tell all my clients and all that, I'm like, you are going to be, in your words, vetted. They're going to look into you. It's like you said, you know what? You find that one person, and every town has them. And you're right, up here in Western PA, it's like, okay, if you go down here, this guy will give you the skinny on everybody and everything. It's so funny because I have clients in 13 states. I have softball players in California, and I'll make a call and I'll be like, hey, tell me exactly where you were last night and everything like that. And I mean, these kids get amazed and they're like, how did you know about that? And I'm like, if I'm vested in finding out about you and working with you and knowing you and everything else, I'm gonna dig everywhere. And my background's a lot similar to yours. I mean, I went the education route. I've been a principal. I've been an athletic director, worked with kids, love working with them. Love, same as you, I love to have my people have that education background because number one, they're going to get in there. They enjoy teaching and coaching is teaching all the time. But when you say that, I mean, I talk to kids and families about social media all the time. West Virginia is they're a big one in it, man. I say, the social media stuff, Friday night football and everything. I have football clients and it's almost at times and it's like that everywhere. It's like I dread that game night because if, if something doesn't go right, then the comments start coming out on social media and I'm like, guys, you want your kids to sit there and go and play, but yet you're sitting here putting this up for everybody to see and everything. There's times and places and the social media is not your time and place to make brands. I mean, the big thing now is youngsters like to make their brand and everything. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm like, I always tell my kids, I said, social media can be an advantage to you or it could be the worst thing in the world. And I'm like, before you put something up or anything, I said, take 30 seconds. And if in 30 seconds time, if you come up with, oh man, this is good to go, you're good. But if there's anything that enters your mind, don't post it out there because somehow, some way, it can be used against you. It can be a judgment on you or something like that. Um, the other stuff that you say, just being the right fit and everything. I just want to go. You went through. The stuff that you're looking for. How young? And you brought up the 12-year-old that is a tremendous little leaguer. How young will you start looking at a kid potentially to keep on your radar, Coach?
It just depends. I mean, a lot of times we'll see those young guys when we're there watching someone else, and you'll see a ninth grader go up there and rip a double, and you're like, oh, there's a little bit of bat speed there. But then at that point, as a coach at our level, now you have to start looking at, by the time he's a senior, we're going to have no shot at this kid, because especially like the sophomore throwing 87 and he's left-handed. I'm not going to have a shot at him when he's a senior. So we try to make sure, especially locally, that we know all the guys. We know all the coaches, so they'll say, "Hey, I've got an eighth grader that here in a couple years, you're going to want to look at," and that sort of thing. But I try not to even focus on a kid entirely until I see them the summer after their sophomore year, when we see them out like that, because you don't know. A lot of things happen to high school kids. It's particularly in our area, they play multiple sports, and some may like other sports more than baseball. And if it's football, they're going to get bigger and their body's going to change, and which changes their performance a lot. I try not to get too infatuated with guys early. I always try to make sure that we make good, patient decisions on guys in terms of who we're going after. But you're always gonna write a name down when you go to a game and you see some young skinny kid do something, and you're like, uh-oh, here we go. So you're always going to write that name down, and then you try to be coy when you're talking to his coach. Hey, what about that little skinny kid there? What about him? And then let him talk, and then try to just gather information as you go along. But it's getting harder with kids, because when young kids start having success early on in high school, and then you have the travel ball element. That travel ball's great as a whole, but not all of it is.
Sure.
And there's a lot of misinformation, and because of that, players have a more difficult time nowadays of self-evaluating. Of honestly self-evaluating. So we call it getting a little too high on your own fumes. And then it's hard to, you don't want to talk them down, because I don't make a habit of telling kids they can't do something. But there's been times that I've had to give really honest evaluations on kids, and the receiver not liking the message. But we always try to make sure that when we're giving an evaluation, we want to see guys more than once. If I have one assistant coach going to watch a guy and he has an evaluation, I may send another guy or myself to go see him, just to make sure we're seeing the same thing.
Sure.
Because we do want to give kids good information, that if they're interested in us. But it's getting tougher. And I have 3 daughters, and all of them have played travel softball. 2 of them still do. The culture of the travel ball has been contaminated a little bit. Social media, I think, is a little bit to blame for that. There's more, the analytics come into play a little bit, because there's some measurable stuff to put out there. And I think it just skews kids' opinion of themselves and of the game. Because now the game is more, well, he's ranked 3rd in this, and he can do that, and he can do that. When we were kids, we just played ball.
Yeah.
And I know I sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but I just wish we could just play ball. Just play ball. Let the kids play ball. And I don't think my dad ever talked to a coach, any of my coaches in any of my sport. I don't think he ever spoke to them. And I just think that there's just too much everything, and not enough just letting the kids play. So that's me on my soapbox, and it's aggravating. And I know that you probably go through it as well, and with clients, trying to help get them in a situation that fits them, that in your heart, this is their lane and their wheelhouse, but you have somebody gnawing at you and telling you no, it's bigger, more. And
Absolutely.
we run into it every day. It's frustrating. It really is. And being able to, as coaches, we have to be able to handle it with civility, and not be a jerk, but also make sure that correct information is being given to folks, particularly parents.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, and you're 100% right on. In my line of business, I'm nationwide athletic recruiter. Uh, I've sent stuff to you. I have some young men that football wise, baseball wise, down at West Virginia State and all that right now. And the thing that I want to tell people is that, I'm putting my name on this. I've been around. I have experience. You know what? I played 4 years in the Red Sox system. I've coached college ball. I've sent kids Division I that are MLB now, down to D2, D3, NAIA. In the evaluation process, the one thing that I do with my business, and there's been people that are like, well, I disagree with you and everything. I'm like, that's fine. You can do that. You asked me to give you an honest evaluation of where I see, your young man or young lady fitting in. And it's like you said, it's tough for them, and and I'm like this. I say, you know what? I don't want to take your dream away. I'm just saying that what my eyes and what the facts are and everything from our experience, these are right fits for you. And I just think right now you're exactly right, Coach. It goes off the charts with, starting at 12 years old. I got on these guys earlier this summer that post who's the best 12-year-old hitter in the state and all that, and they start, and I'm like, let them play ball. I said, they're 12 years old and you guys are already putting the monkey on their back for everything. I said, by the time this kid is 16 years old, I mean, you might not know his name again or anything like that. And as well as I do, you get those certain kids that at 12 years old that develop real early and they go out there and knock it out of the park. And I caution them, and I'm like, kids are going to catch up to you. Now, how are you going to be when there's actual competition and things aren't that easy for you? Where's your mental game going to be? Everything like that. So there's just so many things into it. The thing that I like to do, ideally, I do like to get them in ninth grade and start getting their information and stuff out. I won't do personal recommendations on them at that time, but as a company, coaches across the nation are going to get it, get their information and all that to have in there. Now, when we start talking about them, like you said, really it's that sophomore and summer season after, you're going to start seeing, okay, hey, this kid, he plays it pretty well against the 17 and 18-year-olds and everything like that. I can see them starting to fit in there. But what my thing, I always tell my kids, I'm going to sit there and present a story to a college coach of progression. They're going to see where you are, and they're going to get updates constantly. And I said, that's why it's so important for you guys to just have your profile updated with information, so coach can sit there and say, wow, lad, you know what, I really liked Johnny here the last time, and you know what, here he is 6 months later, speed's gone down by a tenth or 2/10 of a second, can tell he's working. I said, you're going to present a story of progress to these coaches, and by the time that it's time to make a decision, it's going to be easy. They're going to have talked to you, seen that what they're seeing through the updates and everything are good like that, so that they, they have all the information that they need to sit there and make a determination on it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it's about, and where what I do and the way that I like to do it sits there and helps kids and helps you guys. Going to get into now, so let's go some baseball philosophy. I mean, I know that you're an old school guy. I know how Calvin was and everything like that. Do you change anything? Or anything like that? Because I'm always the guy, coach, that's, the great people that you coach with and all that, you take something here, you take something there, and you build your philosophy, your core beliefs and everything like that, and build it up. Tell us about West Virginia State baseball, your non-negotiables, your fundamentals, and how you like to approach the baseball playing aspect.
Before I do that, I just wanted to say one more thing about recruiting. The last thing we always say to kids in recruiting, go where you're most wanted. Go where you're most wanted. And we offered a kid a couple weeks ago, and when I laid out to his mom and dad and him, this is what we think about you, and this is what we want to do with you, and this is what we're going to offer you. I looked at the dad and I said, if you guys find a better offer in this, in its totality, take it. But there's nobody going to want you more than we do. So that's always my advice. But I just wanted to put that in there. I do consider myself, I guess, old school. I spent my first part of my coaching career, I was always the youngest guy in the room. and I just turned 49, and now I don't feel so young anymore. But you know, it's I never disregard new ways of doing things until I really look at it. You know, I think that there's a lot of new stuff out there that's really good information. I think there's a lot of new stuff out there that's actually just the old stuff with dressed up language. You know, I've joked that I thought that if I could come up with some kind of just crazy apparatus that was just absolutely wrong, but I got on there and got somebody to say, you know what, I'm hitting 470 now because of this. I could sell it because people will buy it. But you know, we use Rapsodo with our pitchers because I think it's a good tool. It's not our only tool. It's not our guiding light and everything, but it's part of an accessory to what we do with our pitchers that we feel like is going to help them. You know, I'm not a launch angle guy. You know, I'm sure in the big leagues, trying to hit 4 fly balls a night, you know, that's probably works. At our level, I have a dozen kids that if I told them to hit 4 fly balls every day, they wouldn't get a ball out of the infield. So, you know, that's not going to work for us. You know, we're more of a put back spin on it and, you know, hit the ball hard, and wherever it goes, that's where it goes. You know, I do think that some of the metrics and things that they use are probably valuable, but the problem I have with it is in college baseball, the sample size is not near large enough for you to be able to get valuable, accurate data. That's just my opinion. So, you know, we're not able to watch every game on TV and all that. You know, we've got to go by our scouting report. And, you know, if you've played them and I call you and say, hey, what can you tell me? You know, you're going to tell me, well, I'll tell you what, the 6-hitter, you know, 2-0, he's going to be trying to you know, that kind of stuff. So we have to do a lot of our adjusting and stuff, you know, by what we see, and we have to make our decision now. We don't have access to, you know, 400 at bats from a guy that we can just sit there and watch and know every time it's 2-1, he's looking middle in. You know, we can't do that. So I don't think that some of the new stuff, the metrics and the stuff like that, I just don't think it's going to be effective for us. Now, if there's other Division II schools that have figured out a way that it's going to help them, that's awesome. That's great. But for what we're doing and what we're asking our kids to do on the field, I don't think that it's enough information to help them be able to make good decisions or help us be able to make, well, I shouldn't say good decisions, better decisions than what we're making. You know, I've had a hard time. I spent 20 years as a hitting coach, and now I'm a pitching coach. And I've always believed that, you know, putting backspin on the ball is the way to be an effective offensive team at our level. And, you know, we had some years there when I was coaching hitters, and we had 100 home runs a year. And I didn't have a guy on the team that swung up. You know, we're trying to get down on the ball and hit it in the middle or just below the midline, and it'll go. I'll be honest with you, when I watch videos of kids, 13-year-old kids, and, you know, they're tilting and hitting the ball up here and the launch angle, I want to throw up. It's just, that's not me. You know, that's not, that has nothing to do with anything I've ever taught. You know, I spent a lot of my time as a young hitting coach, you know, the book, the Mike Schmidt study, great book. It talks about the difference between linear and rotational hitting and how you can combine them and that sort of thing. And that was a big basis of what we did. And, you know, we did pretty well. And I know that you know, we've been able to face some launch angle teams that hit a lot of home runs and kind of handle them. Because there's you know, to me, and this is the old school me, I think that there's a clear-cut way to pitch to those guys. There really is. But this all started, if you remember, this all started about 6 years ago, maybe a little bit less, when Chris Bryant got on TV and said his objective is to hit 4 fly balls every night. And, you know, I know in the big leagues, you know, if it doesn't go out of the ballpark, if it's in the air, it's probably going to be caught. I get that. If they hit it on the ground, it's probably going to be an out. But in college baseball, neither of those things are guaranteed. So to me, college baseball is about making the other team make plays. They have to make plays because, some of the fields stink. Some of the players stink, so, you might want to, try making them make plays. One of the funniest things my dad ever did, I can't remember, this is when I was an assistant. I can't remember who we were playing, but in the first game of the doubleheader, we won like 5-3. And the third baseman for the other team had 4 errors that led to 4 of our 5 runs. And in between games, my dad was there. My dad was a football guy. He wasn't a baseball guy. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Sean, you need to tell your hitters they need to hit the ball to that third baseman. He's no good." And I said, "Dad, if I could tell them where to hit it, I'd have them hit it where nobody's standing so there wouldn't be any doubt that they're going to get on base." He didn't come to a game for 3 years after that. But, I think and I'm not trying to insult anybody or what they did. I'm certainly not trying to do that. And I don't think that I'm in a position where I can tell anybody, "Hey, what you're doing is wrong." But I think that there's times that we try to dress things up and jazz things up a lot as coaches to try to prove how smart we are. And I'm just not wired that way. I'm wired that the game's not about how good of a coach I am. The game's about the players and how good they are. Because really, in the course of a 50-game season, I'm probably going to have a direct impact as the head coach on maybe 3 games. Maybe. And it's all going to be whether I took the guy out soon enough or left him in too long. So, then it comes back to how are you training them to where when they get on the field, what are they doing that comes natural to them on the field? Because they're always going to revert to what comes natural to them. And it comes down to that. And I think that to get to that point, the best way to get there is by repetition and being able to coach kids as individuals. If it's a guy that can run, I don't want him to hit it in the air. Now, don't get me wrong. We have a couple fly ball hitters, and you need a couple of those guys. But you have to figure out as individuals what's best for them. I always get leery when I hear people say, "This is our system." Because my system is I don't have a system. The system is based on the individual with our pitchers and our hitters. If a guy's 6'5", left-handed with long arms and lean, I'm not going to have him throwing the same way as a stubby 5'10" short armor that's coming out of the pen. It just doesn't make sense to me. And the same way with hitters. If I got a guy 6'5", 240 that can crush, I'm probably not going to have him beating it on the ground like I am that left-handed kid that can fly that has 0 pop. So to me, it's about coaching the individual. And I've never been a cookie cutter. I've never had the audacity to say, "I've cornered the market on it. This is the way we do it." End of discussion. I've always wanted my players to be authentic, and I've always wanted them to have the freedom to do what comes natural, and then us work off that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love listening to. Yeah, you sound so much like me. It's unbelievable.
Is that good or bad?
According to me, you know what? According to me, Coach, you know where I am. Yeah, that's it. It's all good. And you know what? There are times maybe I take that too much. But my kids at Mars, great high school program up here in Pittsburgh, and we had some big boys that got into the launch angle, and that the summer coaches and the private hitting instructors and all that. Well, you can hit the ball out of park. And I say at the beginning of the year, first day, I'm like, Mars hitting. Guess what? I don't care about leading the WPIL in home runs. You know what? I want to lead the WPIL in RBIs. My kids are going to know how to hit situationally, know how to drive runs in. That's going to be the bigger thing. And like you, I'm a big backspin guy. Hey, you hit it hard, guess what? You're going to hit. I can't ever get on you if you square a ball up and hit it hard. So in a game of baseball, you know as well as I do, you're going to hit that absolute pee at somebody making out, and you know what, you're going to sit there and be fooled, be out on your front foot, barely get the bat on the ball, and that sucker is going to drop. That's the game of baseball, and we all know it. And you know, it may frustrate us at times and everything like that, but when I see that kid, hey, and like you say, and especially if you can run, big guy. I want line drives. I want three things to happen. I want him to be able to throw or to field it. Okay, him to be able to make a throw, and the other guy to be able to catch it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of one, I mean, it goes. We go back to the old axiom. When you hit the ball in the air, one thing has to happen. Somebody has to catch the ball, and you know what? Chris Bryant's, Mark McGuire's. You're 6'6" and 250 pounds, and you know, can make a mistake and still drive the ball out of yard and everything. Yeah, up at that level, but I think, and you talk about developmental, and I'm a huge guy in that. I mean, I look at, people will ask me, hey, where are these 10U tournaments in Las Vegas? I'm like, why are you going to Las Vegas? I said, you could play Pennsylvania, Ohio, and the upper part of West Virginia, get everything in you need, get a heck of a lot more developmental stuff in, and save you a lot of money from traveling the country, and your kid's going to get better. And I told my oldest son, who was asking me about my grandson, you know, when do you think is good for people to start, you know, getting out? I said, when they're 14 years old, because I said, you know, until then, Coach Loyd, you may say, oh yeah, he's great. He's 11 years old. Doesn't really interest me right now, because there's nothing I can really. Let me see that young man when he's 15 years old, and then we'll start going from there. But it's like you said. I mean, there's so many things, and you're old school, and I'm old school, and I enjoy listening to, you know, your way of doing things and how it is. And but yet I'm still, hey, you know what? I'll take the. You know, we're big blast motion guys here with Rawlings and the hitting and all that. And I think there's great teaching points, being able to bring up your swing and where your bat angle in is through the zone, and the Rapsodo with the pitching and everything like that. They're all great teaching points but you have to teach with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. But great points. I just want to close it out now. You know, we've all been going through this pandemic. You're old school. I am. I know that it's frustrating as can be with the COVID stuff, and your players and your staff and everything, and the changes that have been made. You know, everything like that. Give us your message, Coach. What do you try to sit there and instill in your players? Because this is probably the most adverse time they've ever had in their life. I mean, what they like to do isn't there for them all the time. So give us your message and how you try to get them through with that message of positivity.
Well, I'll be honest with you. My message to my guys is basically, we got to follow directions. And our president here, our athletic director here, and our athletic training staff have done an unbelievable job with a situation, at least in our state and our county, that's kind of liquid most of the time. You know, they flip the switch on you daily in terms of, you can do this, you can't do that. So, you know, my message with my guys is, your safety is important. You've gotta approach things a little bit differently. You're going to be in a situation that not many in your generation have been in before, which is you can't do some things. And I always joke with them. I said, here's a word you haven't heard ever: no. But you know, it's a situation for us where when all this started last year and we got shut down, you know, mid-season, and we started moving towards, you know, getting back to being able to practice in the fall, and then obviously coming through and we started practice here, making sure that they understand on the front end that, you know, we're going to have to make some adjustments. We're going to have to change plans last minute. We're going to have to pivot on the fly. So we're not going to be in a situation where we're ever going to be totally comfortable, you know, at least in the near future, with what our day-to-day activities are going to be, which in a microcosm is like a baseball game. So, you know, it's the unknown and all that, you know, trying to teach them we got to deal with it. You know, hey, we were able to practice yesterday. Today they're saying we can't. Okay, that's part of the challenge. This is part of the experience. This is part of the mental part, that you have to be able to get through that and still be able to function like a mature college student should function, and still be responsible and accountable for everything that's been put on you. But from my standpoint, my pure message as it relates to just the situation is, I trust the people that are in leadership positions at our university. I trust 100% the information they're giving us, and we're going to follow their directions. And you know, we have no other choice, nor would we want another choice other than following the directions that they feel are going to give us the best opportunity for our student athletes to be safe, and you know, and their families, because you know, the statistics are showing it's not really in all cases, and I'm not an expert on this, and please, I'm not trying to be, but you know, in most of the cases, college students aren't the people that are being affected the most in terms of getting sick, but we all have people in our family that are, and you know, those are the folks that we're trying to protect. And you know what, if we have to go through some inconveniences, so some older folks or some folks with health problems are still able to live, I think that, you know, that's not an ask that should be too much for us to try to do our very best every day at it. And again, our university, you know, we've done things a little bit differently than some of the other schools in our league, and we've gotten better results than some of the other schools in our league. So our leadership here is excellent. We have a brand new president, and you know, she's showing unbelievable leadership through this. Our athletic director's fantastic. Our assistant AD's fantastic. So we get information every day. We know how to get our guys, you know, what we're supposed to do every day. Our training staff takes care of our guys. You know, we've had 5 or 6 positives since the start of the fall. We've been pretty lucky. So you know, it's, you know, we're not comfortable, but as baseball players, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And you know, you have to be able to, you know, you still have to be able to function. And as I tell our guys, you know, this doesn't give you a pass on anything. Everything that you were responsible for before, you're still responsible for those things. And this is one of those situations where, you know, you just got to figure out a way to get it done, and you got to figure out a way to take care of your classes remotely. You got to figure out a way that maybe we get 3 or 4 practices cut short, and you know, instead of taking physical reps, you may have to take some mental reps. You know, you may, you know, if you're having trouble with your mechanics, you may have to just sit in your room and visualize yourself doing well. I know it sounds corny, but you know, I've read, and I'm sure you read it, the prisoners of war in Vietnam. The guy taught himself to play the piano while he was a prisoner of war. You know, just by imagining the keys. Couldn't play the piano, and you know, he was a POW for 2.5 years or whatever. And he came out and he could play the piano. So you know, I think our minds are they're fascinating things. And, if you train yourself right, and if you have the desire and the patience and all that, we can get through it. But it's, on a personal note, it is frustrating. And as an only child, like I am, I'm used to getting what I want. And, you're having to deal with not being able to do everything that you want to do. We were home for weeks, not even working, not doing anything. That's where my golf game really picked up. But it's been tough, but, it's not insurmountable. You have to be resilient. You have to be willing to adjust. You have to be willing to do without for a little bit, knowing that on the back end you're probably going to get it back. But it's not going to change anytime soon, I don't think. And we're all in it together, and we've all got to figure out a way to function and take care of ourselves and the people we care about the best that we can.
Great message. Coach, I'm going to tell you what, I've thoroughly enjoyed
Me
sitting
too.
down and picking your brain a little bit, letting you have the mic and talk about West Virginia State University and its baseball program. Anything that I can ever do to sit there and help you, you know how to get in touch with me. And I have a great group, a lot of young kids coming up that I'll be sending you information on. And
Great.
you know what? Great success this year. I'll be around. I'm going to be around to see some games and all that. I know I'll see you. You go up to Fairmont and play in Bridgeport, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'll be up there. I'll be up there to see you in Caruso and all that at the time up there. And I'm sure I'm going to try to get down to see you and UC and all that. But best of luck to you, and I appreciate you coming on, and I've had an enjoyable time, and you've offered some great insight as to, how you look at things and how things, should be for kids looking to play. I really appreciate it.
Well, and I appreciate what you do, and your job's not easy, and I know you're working hard for a lot of kids, and that doesn't go unnoticed. So you're doing excellent things, and you're changing people's lives, and that's important. That's why we're in it. We're in it to help people.
Absolutely. Coach, I appreciate it. Thank you
All right.
very
Thank
much.
you, Tom. Take care.
Yep.